Slowly but surely.
It only takes a year
I know. Well, apparently.
of constant work. Cue the music!
Cue the music! Coming to you live from the great indoors of New York City, I'm Bryan Teoh. Joining me today from Green Bay, Wisconsin is Kevin Macleod. Together, we'd like to welcome you to Composerish, where we discuss issues facing modern working composers. Sometimes.
Oh boy!
All right.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, COVID capital of the United States at the moment.
And who would have seen that coming? I mean, it's kind of remote, and you guys didn't really get hit for the longest time, but all of a sudden.
Yeah. We didn't get hit for the longest time, and then, like, the school districts are like, we're going to send all our kids back to school.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that didn't turn out good.
And I had heard a lot of reports of people who lived there who didn't think it was real. They're like, nah, it's all just a hoax. I'm like, you guys think that because
Absolutely
you
true.
haven't seen it.
Well, we're starting to get up to those levels where everybody knows somebody who has it. So.
Is that what it's going to take, though? Is that basically you
Yeah.
have to be firsthand related to somebody?
Yeah, Wisconsin is a little bit of Louisiana of the North. The cities are usually okay, but it gets spooky out there.
Are people masking it up?
Yeah, I am. I absolutely am.
And I guess that's all you can do.
I don't go outside, right? I go to the grocery store once every other week. Everything else is Amazon. Yeah, nobody passes each other on the sidewalks. Like, people will go into the street
Oh, that's nice.
to avoid other parties, which is great. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm so giant and imposing that they think that I'm gonna do something to them. I don't know.
You have a giant and imposing body to match the giant and imposing voice, I think.
Absolutely, yes. Oh, yeah, I've got a boomer.
Yeah, you know, it's exactly the opposite. In New York, we went through our major outbreak, and we're poised for like the second wave, but people have been getting really relaxed and sort of sick of it. So you see a lot of people not wearing masks anymore and just kind of being really laissez-faire about it in general.
Is it everyone or just like the NYU kids?
I'm not in the city, so I only see the outer boroughs.
Oh, right.
I live in Queens. I haven't gone to the city really for anything because, first of all, it's dangerous getting there, just being like on a train or something. And then once you get there, everything is shut down. So it's like, what are you going to do in the city that I couldn't do in my neighborhood? So yeah, I've just been homebound. Actually, no, I did go into the city once. People were wearing masks, but it wasn't everybody.
Okay.
And considering that we were the epicenter of the United States outbreak, I would have expected everybody to be wearing masks and everyone to be practicing good social distancing.
You know, it's been not a great week for me. I have a bunch of projects, and like every week I pick a project to focus on. And this last week was will week.
Ooh.
Write a will week. So emails are fine, clients are fine. And I've been putting this off for, I don't know, 10 years?
Yeah.
More? Ever. Literally ever.
It's one of those things that you really don't want to think about.
Really, it isn't. It is something everyone should think about. And it took me about 4 hours of research to like find enough tutorials to cobble together an understanding of what needs to happen and what kinds of things go in there.
Yikes. That's grim research.
Oh, it was fun. It is a lot of fun. And so I got to the point where it's like, oh, well, I gotta leave these things to certain people, and I don't necessarily know where they live now. So I sent out some emails. I'm like, hey, I'm just filling up my will, and I need to know your contact information. Oh yeah, you see where this is going?
Yeah, I feel like there's no way that anybody can misinterpret that.
Right. The first reply was, oh my God, that's a really good idea, man. I should do that too. And then every other one after that... Because the first round was only like 4 emails, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you dying?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not. I'm not. So then, when I started adding new people, I put the subject line: "I'm not dying. I'm just being responsible." Nobody believed it.
Yeah.
And so all this week, in addition to just me thinking about my death and like figuring out how to end the decades worth of headaches that's going to come with the music catalog that I have.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert! All my stuff goes into the public domain when I die. So nobody gets it. Everybody gets it.
All right, so you heard it. You heard it here. This will be evidence. The date is currently October 12th. This is going to be published in the future, so future people, this is when we do it. But yeah, so if anybody needs to like look back on this document or record, this is Kevin Macleod in his own words.
Yep, absolutely. And I was going to add in a provision that like it wouldn't go into the public domain if I was killed, because what if just somebody wants to shoot me for scheming weasel?
Oh, right.
I don't want to deal with that, but nobody even knocks on my door, so I think I'm okay.
How is it going to be different that your music is in the public domain as opposed to how it is now?
Now it will go into my estate and it will remain copyrighted for, I don't know, 75 years, 95 years after I die, something horrific.
But I mean, I guess as far as like use goes, you produce almost everything, as far as I know, royalty free. How has it changed?
How's it change use? Oh, they wouldn't have to credit me. And there would be no such thing as buying a commercial license.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay, so that's the difference.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good provision to think about. Now you don't have to worry about headhunters. Well, I guess supposed to be you always have to worry about headhunters, but at least for that reason. Having the disclaimer in your email probably doesn't do a lot to stave off. In fact, it probably stokes more suspicion than anything else.
Oh, yeah. One of my friends thinks I have Huntington's now. I'm like, no, I don't even know what that is.
No, right. I'm going to have to research what that is, which should be proof that I don't have it because I don't at least have some ID.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, it's like going to a restaurant and they're like, our chef would like you to know that we do not use motor oil in our cooking. It's like, okay.
Huh.
So why would you guys use motor oil in your cooking? It's like, no, we said we didn't. Okay. Check, please.
So anyway, after days of thinking of my own mortality, then I got several more days of all of my closest friends calling me, telling me, don't die, Kevin, we love you.
Right.
And we care about you. Like, God damn it. Thank
Sending
you.
condolences. Did you get any Get Better cards or anything like that?
Oh, God, not yet. But yeah, people think, well, oh my God, I'm going to stop everything and come over right now. You're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm just
don't come over because then you might kill me. Stay where you are. The only people that can come in have to have a nose swab and a full body condom.
So in my research for all this stuff, amongst the assets I have, it's like, okay, who to give my car to. But I also have a skeleton, like inside me that I'm currently using.
Lightly using.
Yes, the knees are still solid and fairly flexible. But I found a place online that sells human skeletons, and they're super expensive. They're like $15,000. And I think the laws changed back in the 60s, so it's like illegal to import, just random peasant skeletons from third world countries now. I don't know why that happened. So I contacted them to see if I could donate my skeleton to those guys, to help a little bit on the supply side of entertainment bones, let's call them that.
Is that the official?
Like, this is not for medical usage. This is just for people who want to buy a skeleton.
Altruistic, I love it.
Just whatever. And turns out, no, there is no method by which I can get them my bones legally.
What? Why?
They said my closest thing would be to leave my body to whatever and don't specify. Because they sometimes get some that way.
They somehow what?
They sometimes get some skeletons when people die and leave their body to whatever.
Why can't you specify what happens?
I can specify it, but it wouldn't stand up legally.
Why? It's you.
Because you can't do it. I don't know.
You're alive and of sound mind. I could understand why, like, maybe a relative of yours couldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, and now you know. It's very hard to donate and also there's no thing like on the back of your driver's license to donate your body to entertainment. That would be, obviously they're going to harvest all the cool things.
Yeah,
if I have any left.
All the good stuff. Like
all the good stuff.
Can you leave your body in the care of a taxidermist friend and have them and then have them just mount it? Like, is that going to be problematic too?
Yeah, I could create a company that has one goal, and that is to mount my skeleton and sell it on the secondary market. But I think that's too expensive, and you got to buy beetles, and I don't even know how bones go together, really. So I want to leave people with fewer headaches in my will, not more.
Right.
So my body is just going up for whatever, and hopefully it'll make it to entertainment, or maybe the laws will change. Yeah.
I mean, we'll all keep our fingers crossed for that. Who wouldn't want to have Kevin's skeleton for entertainment?
I know, right?
Like, no. We actually fitted it up with some ball joints so you can pose me. It's great. Would you consider doing some sort of like YouTube tutorial series? Because you did all this really grim research for how to put together a will. And I'm sure it's like it was annoying and also kind of fear-inducing. I mean, you have to like think about a lot of things you don't want to think about, and you could save a lot of people headaches by just like putting that information that you learned out there. Would you do that, or is that kind of like extending the pain more?
So my final will ended up being 3 pages long.
That doesn't seem long for a will for some reason.
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. And like 1 page is just a list of contacts.
Okay.
And then just, where everything goes, and then anyone can take what they want, sell everything else, split it up between these folk. Okay. Very simple. But I can imagine that normal people's wills will get ridiculous very fast. There were giant things that I was able to completely leave out. I don't have children. Boop.
Yeah.
I don't have a farm. Boop,
Wait, is a farm unduly complicated?
I don't know, but I don't have one either way.
I know that buying a farm, isn't that like a euphemism for dying?
Oh, yes.
So I don't know.
No, I can absolutely help you with yours. I kind of know you and your situation and the kinds of things you want to do. But other than that, I can't do it for the general audience.
Oh, got
I just
it.
don't.
Yeah,
I don't think it's so specific.
There's too many ins and outs. Well, I'm glad you're not dying.
So long story short, go ahead, do a will. It's going to suck. But if you got to find contact information, do it on the sly and don't tell anybody. Just maybe that you're buying them an inflatable squid costume on Amazon and need to find a place to ship it. But I mean, that'll cost you $60 a pop but I mean, it'll save you a lot of mental strain.
See, I think I would personally be a little bit more upset if that was the premise and then I didn't receive said inflatable squid costume.
No, you'd actually have to send that out. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Mine's on the way. I'm just sending myself one, but a lot of late nights on Amazon these days, Brian. A lot of late nights on Amazon. I'm not proud of myself.
If you like what we do, please do us a favor by going to the Apple Podcast app and subscribing to Composerish. All right. You were talking about your music going into the public domain. Speaking of music and publishing rights, we got our first message from a viewer. Or wait, don't we have a theme for this? I thought we have like a...
It's time for the new viewer mail. All right.
Yeah, that was yours.
Bringing back a classic.
Yeah, I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize ahead of time. But this comes from Victor Chikorovsky. I think it's Chikorovsky? Kikorovsky? I don't know. Anyway, Victor writes in, if I want to publish my music online without passing through a PRO, which is the best and safest way to go?
I don't know what safe means, but let me tell you how I do
it. What is a PRO, first of all?
Oh, yeah. A PRO is a professional rights organization. They're the people that, like in Germany, they've got GEMA. Every country's got their own version of it.
Yeah, the U.S. we've got like BMI and ASCAP.
BMI, yep. CSAC up in...
CSAC? Is it C? I thought it was CCAP. I'm wrong.
CSAC?
You're probably right. CSAC.
And so in order to not publish with a PRO, don't sign with any PRO. I mean, that's easy. Almost everyone in the world has gotten step 1 done. Step 2, throw it up on DistroKid. It's still the best. That'll register you with all the content ID systems on YouTube and Facebook. And, the moment it's put into a tangible form, you've got the copyright on it. I'm not expecting a lot of lawsuits because copyright lawsuits almost never happen.
Unless you're like a big deal.
Yeah, if you've got millions and millions of dollars, then copyright lawsuits will absolutely happen.
Right. And I'd imagine it's just because you have money and everyone's going to want a chunk of it once they see that you have it.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds just like our Christian joyful... Oh, God, what was that? Katy Perry, Joyful Noise.
Right.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Pile of garbage.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Katy Perry. Nobody listens to Christian music to get ideas for pop. No one.
Nobody's like, oh, man, this is an untapped market. This is where all the really, really dank original stuff is. Like, it's a gold mine of new sounds.
Yeah.
I actually went to a talk by a lawyer. I think it was like about like legal rights for musicians or whatever. It was like a free thing. I think legal organizations have to do a certain amount of free outreach or something. Is that true?
Yeah, it does make them look good.
Anyway, it was very clear when I got there that the guy that was doing it was like the low man on the totem pole. They're like, all right, you got to do this for us. Take it. And it was like a room full of people who were just had no idea what they're doing. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And not because of the actual presentation, but because of the people. Like, we actually didn't get to talk about anything. All he did is go around the room. He's like, all right, first we're going to have you all introduce yourselves and just like tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into this. And it took over the amount of time that we had allotted just to get through because people use it as an opportunity to like puff themselves up. This is my name and I write screenplays and I'm an actor and a model and also a musician. And last year I released this and it's like, oh my God, just get to the question part and move along. Nobody cares. Like it doesn't matter. Anyway, one of the things that he did bring up was about copyright. And he was like, I think you have something like, I don't remember. There's a certain amount of time. It's like maybe like a year or something after discovery of somebody's, if you believe that you have a valid copyright claim to strike against them. But what he'll do from a lawyer's perspective, all of that's iffy information. But what I do know is that he's like, sometimes people will find somebody that they think stole something of theirs. And, I just tell them, hold on, just wait. Let's see if they do anything. It's like right now they don't have any money, but like wait to see if they do anything. If they blow up, then we'll pretend that we just found it, and then you can actually strike it. Because if you file something too early, then you can get a percentage of nothing, or you can wait, and if they blow up, then they can be like, okay, hey, I just found out about you, and you stole my music or whatever. So that absolutely is a thing. If you're broke, you're probably pretty safe.
Yeah, I mean, this is rule number 0 of litigation: is never ever sue poor people. My brother's a lawyer. Never ever sue poor people. And people like come in like just indignant that somebody had done them wrong, and they're like, okay, what are you gonna get if you win? They're poor? Yeah, nothing. You're going to get nothing. You're going to spend all of your money on me, and you'll be right, and they will be indebted to you, and you will never see it. So I don't like taking these cases,
Yeah, it hurts you more than anything else to just try to like figure it out, unless you really have enough money that it doesn't really matter to you, and you really just want to stick it to them. Because that's the thing too. It's like, no. This is about getting it on record that you did me wrong. Additionally, I didn't see this part of the email until just now, so I need to elaborate on the original question. The original question was, if I want to publish my music online without passing through a PRO, which is the best and safest way to go? And then he says his additional concerns are, do I need an ISRC code? Can I completely avoid PROs? Is my music safe and copyright protected if I only drop it on Bandcamp or SoundCloud where I get official time and date of publishing? Why does everyone say...
Hey, let's take these one by one because they all have super easy answers.
All right, so first of all, does this person need an ISRC code? And also, what is an ISRC code?
All right, an ISRC code is it's basically a catalog code which you can use in printed documents to refer to different recordings. You could say, this is Michael Jackson's Thriller, or you could say, this is the remaster, re-release 4-second longer Michael Jackson Thriller that came out in this year, and it gives basically a serial number to every released piece of music in the world, and it's very handy. Do you need one? No. You can live just fine without one. Most places like DistroKid, if you don't have one, they will give you one for free.
Right.
It costs, if you want to get an ISRC code, it's like $75 a year, I think. And then you can assign these to whatever things you want.
Wait, so you get unlimited ISRC codes for a year?
No, you get, I believe it's 100,000 tracks per year you can register.
Oh man, that's it?
For $75. Yeah, I know. If you're putting out more than that, we got to have a talk.
Or you can just do it through DistroKid, because DistroKid's like, what, $20 for a year? Or how much? It is $20, isn't it?
DistroKid, I don't know. It is such a good deal that it's one of those things that like I don't even blink at.
It's cheap for what it is.
It's cheap for what it is.
And that does cover you for the year, and you can publish as much as you want. So if you're going to be doing any ISRC codes, I would imagine doing it through DistroKid is probably the best way to go, unless there's some reason like you don't want to deal with their distribution, you have your own stuff in place. But
right. These things don't work like domain names. Like an ISRC code just is. Nobody owns it. There's plenty of them.
Right. It's like a BWV number. It's like an arbitrary assignment.
It's a catalog number that everyone sort of agreed on. This is the format, 2-digit year. So they're not old. I mean, you could not have an ISRC number in 1995 because they didn't exist back then. The entirety of the catalogs have been retrofitted with them. I had the story to follow up the story that you had about the horrible talk that you went to.
Oh, great. Yes, do it. Let's hear it.
I went to a copyright talk at Penguicon in Detroit a few years ago.
The open source conference.
Yes, an open source conference, and they had a person there talking about copyright, and that person did not show up. But then the person...
Is that like a symbolic way of having the discussion?
I don't... I don't know. I was supposed to be an actual lawyer and I was looking to learn things. But then like the person who's like, yeah, so there's a room full, I don't know, there's like 50 people who are interested in copyright at 11 a.m. The person facilitating it is like, oh, well, Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin, do you want to talk about copyright? I'm like, well, I came here to learn about copyright, but I will absolutely talk about copyright.
Sure.
And so it was kind of like yours, where it's like, I don't have a presentation. Who's here and why? And then let's start addressing things. And one of the guys there, God bless him, he's like, we just need to get rid of copyright. And I was like, get rid of copyright? That seems crazy. And it's been a couple years now. And since that has been wedged in my brain, I'm like, I think he's right.
Oh, wait, so you were pro-copyright before that?
I am still pro-copyright. Like, copyright, that's how people don't take my stuff and run away with it. It's the threat of copyright. Because people take my stuff and use it illegally daily.
Right.
Enormous amounts. And that's great. But nobody's trying to say that they're me, and nobody's trying to say that they own it. And if they do, that's big problems, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm glad that copyright at least exists for that. But
if an artist allows their work to require no attribution, you can use it without crediting them, but you cannot credit somebody else for doing it.
I don't think it's a copyright problem, but it is a problem. Somebody can get sued if you credit somebody else.
So next question was, can I completely avoid PROs? I think you already answered that. Yes.
Yes.
Don't sign up for
Just
one, right?
don't sign up. Almost everyone in the world avoids PROs, and you can too.
Is my music safe and copyright protected if I only drop it on Bandcamp or SoundCloud, where I get official time and date of publishing?
Yes. In the US, yes. Moldova might have a different process or something, but I mean, consult your local things. But in the US, yes. And even if you're in another country, it's protected in the US, which is, all we really care about these days, anywho.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's what we care about because that's our market.
USA! USA!
Yeah, I think that used to be a thing where they said that musicians needed to make a recording of their piece and send it to themselves in the mail, so it was officiated by like the government. And then there were people like, you have to register things with the Copyright Office. And now it's like, I don't know, dude. None of that matters because all of it can be disputed. You created it. The date that you create it is when it's copyrighted, just by default.
Yes, the date that it is fixed into a tangible medium of expression. Now, if you want to sue someone over your piece, now you got to pay the $30 or $50 or whatever it costs right now to register the piece with the U.S. Copyright Office so that they have a copy of it and like the legal system has a copy of it if they need to refer to it in the future. But you don't have to copyright everything. You can just wait until a lawsuit happens and then copyright it, and you're not behind the 8 ball at all. You've got the publication date. Nobody's contesting that.
And it's safe. I think it'd be safer having it on something like Bandcamp or SoundCloud because it's like servers that are backed up a million times.
Yep.
And your music is not going to be lost from there, and there will be like a timestamp of when you uploaded it, so you could refer to that. And it's officiated by a third party. Right. So I guess probably the more places that you have it, the better. But,
Exactly.
The final question is, why does everyone say you don't have to sign with a PRO, but you must?
I don't know. I don't talk to everyone. Good Lord. Who says that? I mean,
I can probably field that one. You could potentially be leaving money on the table. If you just want to put music out there, you can do that. And if you just want to sell music, you can actually do that as well. You don't have to go through a PRO. The PRO is going to collect royalties. So if you're interested in making money that way, by having like your music continuously bring in cash flow, or let's say you sell somebody the rights to use your piece of music. Somebody's like, I want to use this in my film. Great. Yeah, it's like, yeah, all right, you can send me $500 or however much you decide is worth it. Thousands. You agree on that? They use it in their film? Fine, that's done deal. You don't need a PRO. What if all of a sudden that film now gets published on a major network, like a television network? They're like, oh yeah, we got this signed to Lifetime or whatever. And now you could potentially have left money on the table. You get performance royalties by having that film synced and distributed now over the airwaves into millions of homes, assuming that people still watch television and still watch Lifetime. Is that still a thing? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah. A network. If it's on the television network, every single time it's played, you would get a chunk of change. And if it's something that's played often or is rerun, or they use your music multiple times, that could potentially be significant money over a length of time. That if you don't go through a PRO, you might just be leaving on the table then. You're just because you got paid your $500, but that could be $5,000, $15,000, whatever.
Yep.
PROs collect money on your behalf anyway. Like I've had pieces of music that I wrote in college that I did register with a PRO that The college ended up like paying blanket fees to the performance rights organization. So as long as I register my piece and I can provide proof, like let's say like a concert program where my name and the name of the piece is on there, and I've registered my piece to the PRO, and you can do this retroactively, I think for up to a year, you'll get some of that money because the
5 years in some countries, by the way.
Right. The university is just paying blanket fees. And a lot of places do this, like let's say restaurants and stuff, they pay blanket fees to performance rights organizations, assuming they actually keep track of what they're playing in their restaurant, which is not necessarily the case. You can get money and it's like cents. We're talking about like tiny amounts of money for performance, but it can add up. If you have a piece that's popular, it blows up on YouTube and everyone's downloading from SoundCloud. Now all of a sudden you could get some money from that. It's likely not going to be significant, but again, you never know. And if it does blow up, you could make a lot of money that way. And if you don't go through a PRO, again, people can just use it and you probably won't see anything.
All right. I've got a sneaky way around this for pretty much everywhere but in the US. So like in Australia, in Germany, in Italy, in England, in France, money is collected on my behalf as a non-PRO person. It does not get distributed to me, but it's got my name on it. There are guys out there who will go and get that money for you. And they take a percentage, 30% in some places, 50% in other places. And even though I'm not with any PRO, and PROs are collecting money for me, no one has the authority to enforce. I just got an email on this today. Somebody from Germany is saying, it's like, hey, GEMA is claiming this stuff that I need to send them a check. And I'm like, no, you do not. They do not have the authority to ask money of other people. However, the money that comes in from cinemas and, public places and places that pay does get attributed to you. And yeah, I got a check for like a 5-year backlog from France the other day.
Wow.
So you can still make money on royalties even if you don't have a PRO.
Like what is the reason that you avoid PROs?
A lot of people who use my music are startups. You got like a mom and pop theater, who literally are barely affording rent. They cannot pay royalties for the stuff they're using. If I register with a PRO, they could go in and require that somehow legally or threaten them. I hate their tactics. They're probably good for me, but I can't stand how they do it.
I've seen job listings for BMI online where they basically want a field agent to go out to like restaurants and clubs and stuff and take a log of like all the music that's being played, and then then you go in and like try to bust them Dirty Harry style and be like, all right, let me see your documentation, and you have to make sure that they're properly logging the pieces that they're playing so that they can account for them and get the money where it needs to go. And honestly, I've worked in restaurants and bars, and most of those places, especially now, just have like a Spotify playlist or an iPod, or like they have DJs, and none of those guys are paying royalties. So if you sign up with a PRO, the PROs are going to go after the big fish. They're not going to waste their time on all these little restaurants, which are most of the restaurants, by the way. They're going to go after like some giant club, which is going to be playing music of huge artists. Probably not independent people. So again,
well, yeah, it's independent people.
Yeah, if you don't sign up with a PRO, you're probably not going to be losing a whole lot of money if your music is played in a restaurant. You could be covered by them though, and you could. So who knows?
They did hassle my uncle's shitty bar in Wisconsin.
Really?
Oh yeah. They threatened legal action. And he's like, bring it on.
Who was this?
Was it ASCAP? I think it was ASCAP.
And did anything come of it?
No, they never actually sued him. He's like, come on, bring it on. Sue me.
Right, because it costs money.
It costs, yes, it's more money to sue him than they would have ever collected if they'd won.
Right. Because again, we're talking about like fractions of a cent per play on songs that is going to go to individual artists. So it might be like upwards of $30 for the venue.
Like that. Okay. I mean, we were looking at like $150, $200 a month.
Okay, that's significant. But for the amount of music that's being played through his venue, for the independent artists, that's not a whole lot of money that they would
Oh
be
God,
getting.
no. That's gonna be the big dogs.
But again, if you're popular, if you're being played in a lot of places multiple times a night, and assuming that at least some of those places are tracking their plays and getting money to where it's supposed to go, you could potentially make a decent amount of money. I'm guessing that Taylor Swift makes a lot of money on PROs, and
Taylor
Justin
Swift
Bieber
makes
a lot of money.
Yes.
And Beyonce makes a lot of money on PROs. So for those people, they absolutely will register everything with a PRO.
They are for you. do. Yes.
Right. And for people that aim to do that, like you'll probably want to register with a PRO as well.
Well, I mean, you're probably going to have some backing behind you, and there's probably going to be somebody like if you get to that point, somebody's going to take care of it.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing. I have registered pieces with PROs and then also given people rights to use the music royalty free.
Yeah.
And so far they haven't been dinged for it, but I am prepared that I might have to like call my PRO and be like, oh, this person specifically asked me my permission and I allowed them to use it royalty free.
We just did a lot of rambling. Can we do like the speed version of the email? You read, I'll answer quick, just so that everyone's clear.
All right. Do I need an ISRC code?
No.
Can I completely avoid PROs?
Yes.
Is my music safe and copyright protected if I only drop it on Bandcamp or SoundCloud where I get official time and date of publishing?
Yes.
Why does everyone say you don't have to sign with a PRO, but you must?
Fuck if I know. I don't understand.
Ooh. Everyone has their own reasons.
Yeah.
So
there we go. I think we got it.
let's move on to our next segment. This is the first time that I get to lead this off.
Sweet. Here's some stuff you should buy. Yeah.
Love that theme, by the way. Love it.
is
It's
good.
Probably one of my favorites that we have so far.
Solid.
I am a guitarist, and I have a very large, awesome 65 twin reverb Fender amplifier that is amazing. It's got two 12-inch speakers in it. It sounds great. If you really like clean tones, it is like crisp and clean and clear and gorgeous. It's tube driven, so it's got like a nice fat warmth to it. The only problem is it is loud. It is so loud. I got it in college and I've rarely been able to use it because for like apartment gigs or like small bedroom studios or small venues, even when you're playing live, it's so oppressively loud. It's hard to like get it to be low enough where it's not going to just shut the sound off completely. And so like it's been collecting dust for years. I've been able to like use it every once in a while, but I always have to worry about, especially working at home, like about pissing off my neighbors. And late at night, it's like, you have to worry about waking everybody up. So I found out about this device, something called the SPL reducer. And basically what this does is you plug it in between your actual like preamp stage on your amplifier and before it goes into your speakers. So you plug the input there, then plug the output out into your speaker cabinet.
Is there just like a 1/4-inch plug that goes between the amp and the
that's it.
speaker section of the same integrated unit?
Are you talking about in the amp or the...
In the amp. So the Fender Twin Reverb has just a cable that has to be there or nothing happens that's sitting on the back. There's like a jumper.
Yeah, there is a 1/4-inch cable that is plugged into the back of the amplifier that's actually going through like the tube amp stuff, and that plugs directly into the speakers. That's like a 1/4-inch cable that breaks out into like two wires that are just soldered directly into the speakers.
Got it.
So, and if you unplug that, the sound won't come out of the speakers. If you were to plug the line out from your amplifier to somewhere else, that line will now be going somewhere else. That signal is
Right, you will blow out somebody else's speakers.
Right. Or you could plug it into another cabinet, however you want. I think they did that so if you want to play through a giant stack, you could do that because Lord knows this amp is loud enough. It could drive those speakers to be fine.
Those things cut, man.
Right. They're great, but, not always. Anyway, the SPL reducer kind of intercepts that signal, so you plug the line out from your amp into this box, which is unpowered. So you just like, it doesn't require anything else to be plugged in. And then you plug from the output from there into your speaker. And what it does is it reduces, it's a power soak. It's not like a limiter or anything like that where it's actually affecting your signal. It just reduces the energy of the signal. So you can actually turn the volume down quite a bit and your amp is still going to be like at whatever level you want. A lot of rockers will use this because if you drive tubes harder, like you just crank the volumes, at some point the tubes start to break up and you get this like warm overdrive distortion sound.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of people love to like turn their amps up loud because that's how they get that distortion. So that's one of the reasons why rock and roll is so loud, because that's when it sounds good. But I have a friend of a friend who got one of these and basically just keeps his amp cranked as loud as possible all the time, but then reduces the sound using this reducer. So it's like an audible level. And that way it always sounds crunchy and nice and, as distorted as he wants, and people love the sound and it's controllable. In my case, I'm just using it to turn the level of the amp down because my amp is like, it's notoriously clean. It's like it's got like such what they call headroom, so you can turn it up really loud and it won't break up. And that's why I got it, because I really love this crystal clear, gorgeous, full sound, like a full tone.
How much is this thing, and where can I get it? I mean, you're killing me, man.
All right, so you can get it from a variety of online retailers. It will be about like $500, $400 to $500.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, it's not a cheap investment, but if you go to Thomann Music, that's THOMANN music.com, you can get it for about $100 cheaper, and it will be imported from Germany, which is where this thing is made. So I would recommend doing that.
I have more questions.
Yeah.
So this amp that you speak of that you're using, how much is the amp? Like if you want to buy one of those.
Nowadays, I'm not really sure. When I got it, I was in college. It cost me, I think, about $800.
$800. I mean, it seems like to be a fairly, I mean, it's a classic amp, right? This is.
Yeah, it's a 1965 Twin Reverb.
Literally 1965, or
mine is the reissue of the 1965. I don't ball that hard.
Yeah, that seems questionable.
But it still sounds amazing. And for me, I was like, you know what? I can't tell the difference. I'm sure there are people who can. I was like, it's good enough for me.
Them. You know, if you're on stage, nobody gives a and they only work when you're on stage, right? Or maybe you can mic them. I don't know.
That's what you do. Is like, I've never really seen the draw or appeal of getting a full stack. So I'm like, I can get a combo amp. I can make it sound pretty good. If I'm playing in a large venue, you're going to need to mic whatever it is that you're playing through anyway. So just play it through the PA then. It'll be fine. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I love this, though, aside from just being able to like actually use my amp again and get the full sound that I paid for, because I have these other like crappier practice amps that I've had to use, like because it's quiet, they don't sound nearly as good. But like,
that's what I was going to recommend.
Yeah,
it's like, why don't you spend the $500 on a small amp?
You can, but then first of all, you have more gear. And they also just don't sound good. Like I have like small practice amps, but you get what you pay for. They sound good for a practice amp, but I really want like the fat tone that I know I can achieve with the gear that I already own. So I was actually looking at getting other amplifiers. I'm like, maybe I can get like a little 10-watt tube amp, so it's still tubes, but it'll be like less power. But I mean, again, you're spending like another like $500 to $800, or I could just get this thing that will allow me to use the gear that I already have, and I can use it with any other amplifier, which is awesome. True. So if I decide to get a new amplifier in the future, I want to get something else, I don't have to worry about how loud it's going to be, because I already have this thing that's just going to work with it. The other thing that's nice about it is I can, instead of going to the directly to the speakers, I can either split the line so it goes to the speakers, but it also goes to a direct recording line. So I basically use my guitar amp as the preamp. And record direct without having to break out microphones. Or if I want to be quiet and I'm recording at night, I just unplug the speaker and I record direct into my DAW. And I get like this full fat guitar sound that's going through the tubes of my guitar amp.
Okay, now I'm interested. I
cannot get that if I'm going through, like, let's say, just straight direct into my DAW and I'm trying to use amplify modelers, because I've done that too when I'm like, I need to get a clean signal. I don't want to have to break out microphones, or it's too late and I'm cranking on a deadline and I can't be noisy. Yeah. So I'm like, but maybe I'll do this instead. It never quite sounded as good. There's something synthetic about it. It's probably just either me not dialing it in right or whatever. Maybe it's the modeling algorithm. I don't know what it is. But like, I can very easily get exactly the same sound that I have from my amplifier right into my project.
All right, what's the product name?
It's called the SPL Reducer. Sierra Papa Lima.
SPL Reducer. Available at
ThomannMusic.com for price reduction. You can get it from other music retailers in the US, but it's going to be about $100 more expensive. And this is like a thing that like I don't know why I'd never heard of before. It must be like a guitarist well-kept secret, because as soon as I started talking about this, other guitarists are like, oh yeah, I've heard of those. I'm like, wow, how did I not know this?
Well,
I've been playing guitar for forever. Right. And I just posted about this on a forum. People are like, oh yeah, those. I'm like, why? It's like I'm talking about just discovering guitar picks for the first time. They're like, oh yeah, you didn't know about that? I'm like, how did... So I'm talking about it now because I didn't know, and I am an avid guitar player. I know a lot about guitars, but I didn't know about this. Hopefully it'll help somebody out there as well.
Beautiful.
All right. With that, cue the outro.
Cue the outro.
Cue the outro. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. If you have any comments or suggestions of things you'd like to hear us babble on about, please feel free to contact us at composerish@gmail.com. Until next time, keep on writing.